For my presentation this week, I'd like to discuss a little bit about Luther Gulick's theory of organization. As we've seen with our previous readings, with the wave of the Second Industrial Revolution, it brought with it basically the birth of our early theorists in public administration. These early theorists recognized the need for efficiency and order in these large new factories that all this new technology brought with it, at least at that time. They went from these small shops, one-person shops, where the one person did everything from beginning to end and tried to fulfill different orders. And then along the way, as we progressed to these bigger factories with these machines again from the Industrial Revolution, you had a lot of chaos and disorder. People like Taylor were able to step in and recognize what needed to take place. We needed to divide up the jobs, specialize in different things, and have a manager or supervisor overseeing all these different tasks in these different jobs. So it made everything a little more cohesive, made it more efficient. And then after that comes the Great War, World War I, and continued growth and expansion in these factories and in production. But with the war in particular, it really pushed a tremendous production for supplies. As the factories, the military, the government, everything continued to rapidly expand. And this next generation of theorists recognized the shortcomings of the early theorists, or the early theories, and they expounded on them even more so that they could accurately reflect what was going on with the factories at that time. And someone like Gulick was able to see where it could go in the future. Going from a small factory that can be overseen, it was broken down by the different positions, everybody specialized in their position, and a small factory like the one on the upper left, you can have one manager probably easily oversee all those employees and be very efficient. But as time went on and the factories grew, like the one on the bottom left, up to our more modern one, like the factory on the right, one of these super mega warehouses at an Amazon warehouse, one manager is not going to be able to oversee all these different employees, all these different groups of employees. So someone like Gulick was able to, again, recognize that, and he theorized essentially that instead of having one supervisor trying to manage all 20 different groups of employees, and each group of employees having a dozen or more workers in each group, instead of having one trying to do all that and not being efficient, let's have 4 different managers oversee, so that each manager has 5 different groups. So 5 groups for one manager is much more manageable than 20 to be more effective and manage these people. Again, if you have greater effectiveness, you're going to have managing and supervising, you're going to have greater efficiency, greater output. So like I said, someone like Gulick was able to kind of foresee that, and not only did it work, but like I say, you can already use the example of Amazon there. That theory still works today. You'll see ultimately we end up using it even more in modern times. Quickly, I just want to go over some strengths and weaknesses. First, I'll start with the weaknesses. I honestly do not see, I've not been able to find any real weaknesses at this point with Gulick's theories, because he really seems to account, and this is his strengths, he seems to account for not only the problems of his time, but they apply even up to modern times. Everything from a one-man shop, like a plumber, the job that only requires one person to do the task, he covers that, he sees that, he recognizes that, but he also recognizes that there's different sizes of factories. And in fact, he went as far as to point out or make the point that create a position for another worker if there is enough work to sustain that particular worker for that job or that task. If it's not full-time work, you don't add the next person. I just thought that was pretty brilliant how he had that foresight to see growth and expansion, as well as for the larger companies or larger factories or businesses or governments, as well as the much smaller ones. He really seemed to account for all of that. Again, in our modern times, or real life, our Department of Homeland Security, particularly FEMA, uses what they call their ICS, or their Incident Command System, which I'm certified in all these classes, and I'll tell you firsthand, especially after reading Gulick, I felt like I was reading all the materials again studying for my ICF certifications, because it all seems to be set up the exact same way. You have the hierarchy, you have all the different levels where you have the incident commander at the top, and then he's got these people right under him that report to him, and it's like it just expands out as it goes down. But the big key to all of this is, for anybody that doesn't know ICS, is it allows FEMA to go into a place like after an earthquake or a flood or a hurricane like we're having right now, and it allows them to bring in all kinds of different agencies in different disciplines and be able to come in under one command and effectively work, and each group be able to do their job. But in order for that to happen, you have to have common language, common hierarchy. Everything's got to be common and the same, and each group of workers needs to be supervised by someone that has experience with that can communicate with the other supervisors, and again, it goes up the chain. But the big thing that struck me with this ICS in terms of Gulick's theory is that whole not creating more work than is needed for one person, for one day or for full-time work, and also for the larger company. This ICS, the way it's designed and set up, is it allows for expansion and contraction of a scene. So the more people you need, you can grow this model, this hierarchy, by adding more groups, adding more workers, and in turn, just like Gulick's saying, add more supervisors. In fact, they have it built in that you can only have a limit, a maximum number of groups, working groups, that each supervisor can supervise. And that goes all the way up the chain, all the way up to the incident commander. So the more groups you have, if one person now has 6, you bring in another supervisor, and each one has 2 or 3 apiece. And then as that one grows, and all of a sudden you've got 6 supervisors. Now you need 2 supervisors above them to supervise 3 supervisors apiece. Again, this kind of rambling. It's getting a little confusing now, but this really, to me, exemplifies Gulick's theory in action in our modern times. I hope I didn't bore anybody too much. I went a little long and rambled a little bit, but I really enjoyed reading Gulick's work this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it.